So Shota Imanaga opts out of his contract, according to ESPN today. Where does he rank, Peter, as far as available free agents? He was not as good this year as he was last year, but I would still assume that he's going to command a serious payday for some team. Would he be a top 5 starting pitcher in free agency?
No. I think the Cubs made the perfect decision to kind of let him walk. Basically, they're going to offer him the qualifying offer. So if he doesn't take it, they get a draft pick out of it. And if he does, they get one more season of Shota Imanaga at a reasonable salary. And if I'm a team, what I'm noticing is Shota Imanaga has made his money on that high fastball if he's able to sit between 92 to 93 miles an hour with that induced vertical break. And he's always been a fly ball pitcher. He's always had difficulties with the home run. But this year, especially towards the end of the season, there was a reason that the Cubs rarely went to him in their biggest spots, even though their rookie phenom, Cade Horton, went down with an injury. The home run to fly ball rate was out of whack. You look at the underlying metrics, a 4.86 FIP. Do you really want to be paying that guy into his mid 30s, a guy who seems like he's already trending in the wrong direction? So I understand where you're coming from. Shota Imanaga at his peak would most certainly be a top 5 free agent pitcher in this market. But right now, with the way he's throwing, I wouldn't want him for more than 1 year. So I think the Cubs did exactly what they should do. You either get Shota for 1 or you get the draft pick.
Yeah, fair enough. And sometimes these guys from overseas, they come over, they're so dominant the first year, and then all of a sudden, as you said, things get figured out. High fastball, that's true. On the other side of town, on the south side, the Luis Robert talks. It's so funny to me, Peter, that they picked up his $20 million option. We've been doing the is Luis Robert trade going to happen for 3 years now, man. And we're just going to do it again. Are we going to do it this offseason? Are we going to do it next year? He just had an awful year, too. 220, 661 OPS. Who would even want that?
He is, and I've unfortunately been buying into Luis Robert for too long, and it's never worked for me. Because you see the talent, right? He has the capability to hit 38 home runs like he did a few years ago. He has the ability to be one of the best defenders in center field. He can steal 20, 30 bases, but the swing and miss, I mean, he's chasing sliders at rates that you only see from Javier Baez when he's at his lowest points. This is a guy who seems sometimes unplayable, and sometimes he flashes that superstar potential, but it just doesn't come through enough. So I understand, I guess, why the White Sox would give him $20 million. You're just hoping that he can give you a $40 million type of year, which he's capable of, but he could also give you a $5 million type of year. So they're taking a gamble. I kind of understand why they're doing it, because they don't really have another choice.
So of all the free agents here, I know Kyle Tucker is going to command the most. I guess my favorite free agent is probably going to be Alex Bregman going into the offseason. Is there a player or two, Peter, that you'll be keeping a close eye on here?
Yeah, Michael King, I think, is really, really interesting because he was emerging as one of the better pitchers in the National League with the San Diego Padres, but injuries kind of got the best of him. But when you look at his stuff profile, especially when he's on, he is as good of a pitcher as any, and he doesn't have a ton of innings on his arm either. But I wonder how teams are going to evaluate him, because again, it's not a long track record of success, but when he is good, he's fantastic. That's a guy who I could see getting a huge deal or maybe a 1-year deal, but I want him on my team.
Let's take a quick break. Peter's going to rejoin us here. 7 new managers in Major League Baseball over the last month named. We're going to run through them and get Peter's thoughts on if any are going to make a significant change for their ball clubs. You're watching NewsWire on SportsGrid. We'll be right back. Welcome back to NewsWire. Just minutes away from Just Baseball, recapping the World Series, which was such an epic showdown with the Dodgers and Blue Jays. Peter Appel will be hosting that show coming up, so make sure you stay here on SportsGrid and catch it. So, Peter, I think the managing cycle, we're coming kind of close to an end here, I think. I don't know. Did the Rockies say what they're going to do? Does it even matter? I'm not sure. But here are the new managers in Major League Baseball. Skip Schumacher was hired right away, and he was part of the organization, so that made sense. Kurt Suzuki gets a magical 1-year deal from the Angels. Go figure that one. Tony Vitello goes from college to pro. He'll manage the Giants. Craig Albernaz goes from Cleveland to Baltimore. Derek Shelton takes over in Minnesota after his tenure in Pittsburgh. Blake Butera, youngest manager in baseball, hired last week. And then Walt Weiss will follow Brian Snitker in Atlanta. A lot of compelling stories, I think, coming out of this, but compelling than Tony Vitello getting hired out of the University of Tennessee to take over the San Francisco Giants. This is one where there's no middle ground, Peter. It's either going to be a huge success or a massive failure. Buster Posey seemingly hitching his wagon to that.
You know what? I'm going to trust Buster Posey, and I think that it goes well. I'm a big college baseball fan, and Tony Vitello has been the name in college baseball. He's really done such a good job with those Tennessee Volunteers. So I'm going to go out on a limb, and even though, it's not often that a coach from college comes over to Major League Baseball, but I think it's a good move. I'm excited, and I think it's already funny that he's putting quotes out there that he's going to be Drew Gilbert's babysitter, because that guy is a beautiful psycho.
Yeah, no, it should be fun to see. And, won national championships, of course, at Tennessee and was the SEC Coach of the Year. And you just don't usually see this. A lot of people allude to Pat Murphy, who was a coach at Arizona State, but for many years before he ended up going to the pros, too. So we'll see. What's the other managing story for you here? I mean, I could do all of them here. I think here, I'll give you let me look at it here real quick. Here's my quick takeaways on all. Schumacher, easy, makes sense. Kurt Suzuki, what the bleep, 1 year. Albernaz, very well thought of, makes sense for Baltimore. Derek Shelton, Twins must be in rebuild mode. I think that's probably what's going to go on here, unfortunately for him. Butera, I know nothing about. And then Walt Weiss, they just kind of feel like they had an unlucky season, I'm going to guess, Peter, last year. They think they'll just be better based on who they have. Fair?
I think I couldn't have said it better myself. The one I am really interested, though, is Butera, the youngest coach ever at 33 years old. It's a really young team with the Nationals. Not a ton of coaching experience outside of, the minor leagues. And there was a lot of options around. One that I'm surprised that hasn't been brought in yet is Mark DeRosa, right? Who's going to manage Team USA. I actually thought that he might go to the Braves, knowing that he used to play there, but they went with Walt Weiss. But my biggest takeaway from this, too, is that the Angels, a 1-year deal for Kurt Suzuki, it's basically telling him that, we don't want to pay for a manager because we might have an impending lockout. So they're giving a guy a 1-year flyer. You know what it's like when it's a player and you get a 1-year deal. This is can you prove it? And it's hard to prove it as a manager, especially when the Angels aren't expected to spend. So Butera being the youngest and the Angels doing just more Angel stuff, I guess, are the big headlines here outside of Tony Vitello.
Yeah, definitely so. Okay, so I missed one job here. The Padres, of course, they were caught off guard. Everyone says they were caught off guard by Mike Schilt retiring. There was no indication that this was going to happen. And so they've interviewed a lot of different skippers here. Albert Pujols' name has come up. You're seeing some of his ex-teammates mention that if Pujols gets the job as the manager, then Yadier Molina would be the bench coach, which is kind of crazy. So they would build that in San Diego. And I don't know that the Rockies really are relevant at all at this point. I saw my buddy Tim Healy say that Adam Ottavino interviewed for the GM job. I don't know. I hope the Rockies get it right. They should eventually, Peter, get it right. It's such a shame because they pack that house every night. They lose 100 games and they get 25,000 fans for every single game in Denver. But I don't know. Let's focus on San Diego here for a minute. Would that be something, huh? Pujols and Molina. Are there any other ex-Cardinals that could go join him there?
I would absolutely. I love the idea of that. Right, Albert Pujols, one of the greatest right-handed hitters ever, and Yadier Molina, one of the greatest catchers ever. You combine those two on the bench there in San Diego, it will feel a little bit weird that it's happening in San Diego and not in St. Louis, but I would love to see what that looks like.
And for the Rockies, does it surprise? Look, I think Adam Ottavino is a very sharp guy. I've interviewed him before. I think he would be very good in a front office, but literally, has he? He just pitched, didn't he? Last year, the year before.
Yeah, it's hard to speak on what he could do as a general manager. To your point, I think he is a smart guy, and to pitch that long in Major League Baseball without throwing 100 miles an hour, I think it's something, right? We've seen some pitching coaches who, made their money in Major League Baseball by pitching around guys, locating, and Adam Ottavino had that great slider, but maybe he could I don't even know. I don't know what the Rockies are doing. Maybe Adam Ottavino is good. We have no idea.
All right, let's end with this. I'm going to cover this coming up in a few minutes here, Peter. But one of the contemporary committees for the Hall of Fame is about to pop up here. And I know certainly you've seen a lot of these players play, but the biggest question is going to be whether or not Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens are voted in by their contemporaries. It's a small committee of media members and ex-media members that get in. My sense is they are not. My sense is not because they don't deserve it, Peter, but because I don't think that those people that are on that committee want to be the people that put them in the Hall of Fame and being known for that. That's unfortunate, but I kind of feel like that's the direction. I think Don Mattingly's going to get in. What do you think?
I agree. And you took the words right out of my mouth, because you don't want to be the person to skip by the precedent of no steroid users in the Hall of Fame. So if these guys, a small group are going to come together and say, no, we believe they should, I think it'd make a lot more noise than they want to. So I agree with you. I don't think Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens are getting in, even though, of course, they have all-time numbers.
Yeah, and I think they should be, but I just don't see those people saying, yeah, we're the ones that put them in. I think it's the opposite. I think they let it go. All right, Peter, great stuff. We'll catch you on Just Baseball coming up here soon on SportsGrid. Thanks for coming on again.
Thanks so much for having me, Craig.